To break the ice a little bit, my first question every episode is, what is y'all's favorite drinks right now? What are y'all drinking? Alcoholic or non? Completely up to you what your answer is.
You mean right this instant or just favorite drink in general?
Just either
Well, yeah,
one.
well, okay. Well,
Depends on the time of the day.
it's the time of the day, and we've sailed a lot of places in the world, and it lived a lot of places. So sometimes it is what's really good and inexpensive wherever we are. We were in Spain and France. Well, we were drinking a lot of wine over there.
Yep.
When we were in based out of Antigua, well, rum was seemed to be the drink of the day, and
Let's answer the man's question.
bourbon. Answer the man's question. Bourbon.
The answer is bourbon. You can't go wrong with that. That's two interviews in a row where bourbon was the correct answer. We might just have
Now,
to.
now can I tell you a really quick story on
Sure,
bourbon?
please do. Yeah, please do.
A quick
Okay.
story.
So I have a
Moron.
particular little favorite that you can't find around Nashville, even though it's in Kentucky. You can't find it in the States hardly. It's not super expensive, but I particularly like it. Well, you go to France, it's on every grocery store shelf for cheaper than you can buy it in the States. What's with that?
Hmm.
So you keep the boat stocked up on that, right? Whenever you go to France.
Yeah, she's stocked up.
Yeah, smart, smart. So let's get into the musical story and the story of y'all as well, non-musically. So first question, where did y'all grow up? I'd love to hear that story of where y'all are from and kind of tell us about some of your earliest musical memories and even influences.
Well,
Amy, you
you
want to
want
go
to go
first?
first? Yeah, fire away.
Fire away? Okay. Grew up outside, very rural, outside of Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
Um, yeah, little rural, more cows than people. People think in New York State and they think in New York City, but really the western end of the state
Hmm.
is pretty rural area, nice area. A nice area during the summer, at any rate. The winters get a little long in the snow belt. Um, Music was all sorts. I had an older brother who, at one point, when I was really young, came and gave me three albums. And that's probably my earliest. And he gave me a Rolling Stones album. He gave me a Peter Palmieri album, and he gave me a Mothers of Invention album.
Oh
And he
yeah.
said, if you listen to these, you're going to have a good start. And I was, pretty young when he did that, but I never forgot it. So
Amy.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, and my, influences certainly were Eagles, Grateful Dead, Doobie Brothers, and all. But similarly, my sisters, who were left home a lot earlier because they're much older, left behind the band. They left behind Chicago and um, Boston. So those were albums that I grew up and listened to intensively because that's what you did. You put your headphones on and you sang along and you
Hmm.
listened closely. So those were probably my picks.
I think as an interviewer, it's always interesting to find out what somebody's first inclinations were musically because you can almost always kind of point a light or an arrow between now and then and really be able to tell a story that makes sense in between there. But just a quick story about Buffalo.
Right.
You talk about upstate New York and how it's not anything
Mm.
like urban areas. As somebody who's lived in Texas for 20 something years, sometimes when I would drive up north, I would go up through Ohio and Pennsylvania and end up through Buffalo just because it's a prettier drive than going up through the
Mhm.
northeastern cities. And I always made the joke to people down here in the South, Mike, you'll appreciate this. When you get to Buffalo, before you get to Buffalo, everybody drives normally. I call it Southern driving. And then as soon as you drive through Buffalo and you're on I 90 East on the other side of Buffalo, traveling towards Syracuse and Albany that way,
yeah, yeah.
you're not Southern driving anymore. Everything has become serious at that point, and
That's the truth.
I'm telling you right now, Buffalo is the cutoff for that. I don't know why, but I've seen it every single time. I'll be driving through Buffalo. I'll tell everybody in the car, y'all buckle up. It's about to get real. And that's just Buffalo. So how did y'all
I
meet?
think you're right.
How do we meet,
How
Amy?
did we meet? Well, I went to school at Cornell in the Finger Lakes area, and my first job was over in the Buffalo area. So I was looking for, well, all right, we're going to get real here. I was looking for a place to live. Coming from an old farmhouse, a bunch of acreage, a bunch of chickens, all my friends, it was a very organic type of existence. And so I didn't really want to be in an apartment complex. So I was looking for a place to live. Well, turned out that Michael had an apartment available in a place where I could have it all to myself. So that worked out great. So he was my landlord for a very short time.
Okay.
That's how we met.
And now you're the landlord, right, Amy? Just I mean,
That's right. I knew you were a smart man, Chris.
oh man, no, I know how it works. Happily married almost 9 years, so I get it. I completely understand who the boss is. Believe me. So I've had couples in the interview hot seat before, and I always find it interesting with a musical couple, especially two people that write music, how it aligns for y'all, because two creative people get together, even if you're in a relationship, even if you're in love, that creative process doesn't always mesh. It doesn't always line up. There can be a lot of butting of heads and things like that. Y'all's harmonies are brilliant, but I'd love to hear from the songwriting side of things, how you guys kind of help each other along that process.
I was just going to say, Michael's the songwriter. We've done a couple of things together, a few songs, but he's the songwriter. So take it away.
Okay, so with that being said, where I lean on Amy, really, in that is where I will get stuck in phrasing. I will get stuck in what else. I'm trying to say this line, but I'm not hitting it. I'm not hitting it. And really, yeah, if we're just being honest on this, I think it comes down a lot to education. I went to high school, and then I went to work. Then I've been playing music. I think Amy was more formally educated, and I think that translates a lot to the English language. And there's times when I get stuck. I just need a help in how do I create a phrase that works. So there's a lot of working together that way.
So the evolution process is helped just by the education that she provides in phrasing.
Actually, I think it does. I think it's just in how can you say something another way.
Yeah.
Amy's probably more eloquent than I am.
So, Mike, I'm right there with you. My wife is a writer. She writes fantasy novels, and every single time I have an outline for these interviews, I will come. I drag her into the studio, and I'll say, "Read this, correct it, make sure I don't sound dumb," and she'll go through it. She'll take out the words. I like to add extra words to stuff, and she just takes them out. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. But
yeah. Well, that's a collaboration, which to me is a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. And then you guys are on stage, and she's adding her voice to everything. I've listened to you with and without her, Mike, and I kind of can gravitate towards what I think you're going to answer this. But what does she add to your music that wasn't there prior to her coming along into your music?
Well, okay, so
I got your back, Amy. Yeah, I got your back.
It is. Well, it for sure it's the harmony. So I'll give you a background of how it really evolved, because I was I played in bands forever, and there was a point quite a while ago where I was nervous about it, but I quit bands because we decided we wanted to go long distance sailing, starting to cross oceans on our own boat, just the two of us. So at that point, it left bands. What that did, though, was really push me to start writing. It was one of the best things for my music I ever did, which I thought was going to be the worst thing, but it was not. Mm-hmm. So then it just became we depended on the two of us. So early, Amy has unbelievable ears. I don't know if you saw into that. Amy owns the record label.
Yeah, we'll get into that for sure. Yeah.
Amy's at all the recordings. She has just great ears. So it came into, so Amy was doing live sound, doing a bunch, and I always wanted her for harmonies. And as time developed, Amy had a real knack for percussion and drums. And as it came into the band at this point, Amy's been, full set and tons of percussion with the band all the time. So it really is a leaning on, she knows, and I've played with a lot of drummers, Amy knows how to back up a singer. She knows how to not point the light at her and say, I'm going to fill every hole that comes up. I'm going to do this. She knows how to back up a singer. She listens, she knows from watching me write, she knows what the lyrics are about, and she knows how to do that. And there are not many drummers that can do that.
Yeah, oh, I agree. And it's funny how many musicians, artists, songwriters, all of the above come from the world of percussion. It really is truly fascinating how many people come from the drumming background. You talked about sailing the world, but we're definitely going to talk about that. When Cliff came to me with your story, I was like, he's like, you interested in two people that sail the world and play their songs all over the place? And I'm like, duh. I was like, yeah, Cliff, I can probably tell that story.